Hello and welcome to a special bonus episode of the Irish Home Show. If you're new here, you can find our last 10 episodes are available now wherever you get your podcasts. We went through the house buying journey in Ireland from start to finish, from savings to mortgages to house hunting to going sale agreed and finally getting your keys. Each of those 10 episodes will take you through a different part of the journey with expert interviews and with detailed explainers and expert guest interviews. Wherever you are on your house buying journey, or if you're only just starting out, there's a podcast for you that you can listen to. Tune into the Irish Home Show wherever you get your podcasts on Apple Music, Spotify, and even YouTube. Today I'm bringing you one last extra special bonus pod just to finish off our series and to start the new year. If you're going into 2023 trying to get on the ladder, whether you're starting savings or going for your mortgage application or getting out there house hunting, this is a perfect episode for you. And whenever you're listening to this, this will be useful for you whatever time of year, wherever you are in your house buying journey. I'm delighted to say today I have a special guest interview with Ciaran from Crazy House Prices. Ciaran is probably Ireland's leading influencer in house buying. He rose to fame documenting his own house buying journey and also highlighting problems and inequities out there in the house buying market. He has successfully campaigned to stop housing estates being sold off to investors. He has helped out thousands of home buyers on their journey, whether it's advice on mortgages, on house hunting, on getting their own home. So stay tuned for my interview with Ciaran, coming up after our brief explainer section. Now today I'm just going to have a short explainer section to summarize our top 5 lists for anyone on their house buying journey, whether you're a saver or going for a mortgage application or you're out there house hunting. I'm going to take you through my end of year top 5 lists of what to do if you're in your house buying journey. If you're a saver, I have 5 tips for you on how to save your deposit. If you're going for your mortgage application, I have our top 5 rules to presenting the perfect application. And finally, if you are ready to go and you're house hunting, I've got 5 tips for you to find that house of your dreams and to win the bidding. Savers. Here are my top 5 tips if you're starting out on your savings journey to build up a deposit to buy a home. Number 1, set a goal. Set an overall goal of the amount of money you're trying to save for a deposit. That's probably going to need to be 10% of the value of a house, plus another 3 or 4% for the costs involved in buying a house. So aim for about 13 or 14%. Set that goal and then work out how long it's going to take you to get there and how much your monthly goal of saving should be. Number 2, where are you going to save? Choose this carefully. Where are you going to put your savings money? Are you just going to put it into one of your vaults in Revolut, or would it be better in a more longer term, harder to reach savings account with your bank? Do your research and find something that you can easily put money into, but it's harder to take money out of, whether psychologically or actually. You should always keep a second savings account for emergencies that you can access a lot more quickly, but put away your deposit savings somewhere that you won't be tempted to touch it. Number 3, your monthly savings amount should aim for about 1.3 times your future mortgage payments. So if you've worked out you're going to have a house of a certain amount and your mortgage will be €1,000 a month, aim to be saving €1,300 a month. The banks are going to stress test your ability to pay the mortgage up to about 30% more than is the current going rate. So you're better off saving over and above what you'd actually need. That'll help you when you come to the next section, mortgage applications. Number 4, switch and save. It's a really good time of year to look at any of your bills or subscriptions and see what you can cut and what you can switch to save money. You'll be surprised how much you can save on things like car insurance or on your TV and broadband bill. It might be only €10 to €50 a month, but over the course of a year or two in savings, that can add up to big bucks. And number 5, keep track of your savings in a way that allows you to see how far you're going and how far you have left to go. In our Irish Home Buyers Journal, we use our deposit builder page where you can colour in each of the bricks to see your way to your goal, to your total deposit. This helps encourage you and gives you a visual guide to how far you've come and how much you've got left to go. 5 tips for mortgage applicants. Number 1, start by checking your credit score at the centralcreditregister.ie. This keeps track of all your previous payments and any debt you have outstanding. It's a good place to start to see if you have to clean up any old debts you weren't aware of. Number 2, talk to a mortgage broker early. You can go with your bank, but a broker will be able to reach the whole market, and they'll also give you great advice on how to prepare yourselves even 6 months out before you go for your application to make sure you look perfect to the bank when you apply for your mortgage. The earlier you can work with a broker, the better. Number 3, try to live financially cleanly. This means keep your accounts simple. Don't have any bounced bills or direct debits. Make sure your savings payments are clearly going into your savings account and they are named and numbered. And don't be spending money on anything nefarious like gambling or too much drinks on a Friday night. The bank will look at all these things. You don't have to live like a saint, but just keep it clean. Number 4, in the lead up to your application, get all your documents together. You're going to need payslips, bank statements, any credit card or credit union accounts, anything to do with your job, or if you're self-employed, your own accounts from your business. Get it all together, get it ready to go, whether in PDF or in physical form, before you go into your broker. Finally, number 5, think about mortgage protection and home insurance early. Particularly if you may have a pre-existing condition, you might need time to look for mortgage protection, and so it doesn't hold you up later. We always recommend beatthebank.ie. They'll do everything for you to try and get you the best rate in Ireland. 5 tips for house hunters going into next year. Number 1, set up alerts. Both the major property portals in Ireland have alert functions where they can email you as soon as a property comes on the market. These are great for setting your criteria of properties in your area or in your price range, and they'll ping you with an email as soon as the new one comes to the market. This allows you to be one of the first buyers to contact the agent, and that really makes a difference on our end. Number 2, broaden your horizons. There's been a lack of stock available to buy recently. Sometimes you may not get the area you want, but if you spread out and look at similar areas nearby or even in commutable towns, you might find an absolute gem or something better value for money. Broaden your horizons and have a look around to see what you can afford within your budget. Number 3, look for bargains. If you go on myhome.ie, you can see their price changes page, and you can search for your area to see if any properties have had their prices reduced. It's happening on occasions now, and you might find something that's been missed by the rest of the market and is now looking like a bargain, or at least there's an opportunity for you to get in there and get a good price. Number 4, be ready and organized when you approach a house viewing. Make sure you know what you're asking the agent, but also make sure that you have all your ducks in a row at home. Your mortgage application, your proof of a deposit, so that if you are making an offer, you can show all that documentation to the agent and look like a well-prepared and ready-to-go buyer. That could include having your solicitor ready and having a surveyor on board. Finally, number 5, burn that shoe leather. Get out there and look at areas that you're interested in. Sometimes looking at just online, you won't discover everything you want to know about a property in a certain area. Do a drive-by, even if it's later at night, you get to know the area better. It also might be worth your time dropping some letters indoors of a particular street you want to live on. Tell them the sob story how you'd love to raise your family in that area or be near the local school, and a lot of homeowners may just skip the agent and come straight to you. That's my 5 tips for house hunters going into next year. You can find all that in the Irish Home Buyers Journal, which you can find at irishhome.ie. And if you want a free one-page guide to house viewings, you can go get that at irishhome.ie/free today and join our list for regular updates and useful tips for house hunters out there. And now, on to my interview with Ciaran from Crazy House Prices. So guys, I'm delighted to say I have a good friend and one of Ireland's leading property influencers here, Ciaran from Crazy House Prices. How are you, mate?
Uncle Ben, how are you?
Yeah, very well, very well. Merry Christmas. We're just in the period between Christmas and New Year, and it's nice to catch up with you just to sort of see, finalize where we've been taking people through in their house buying journey this year on this series on the podcast. And it's also nice, I think we have a lot of new people getting sort of following you and I at this time of year who are looking ahead to next year in 2023. What do you think? What do you see ahead of us in the year ahead for the house buying?
That's the billion euro question, isn't it? I think people are a bit worried about first time buyers being able to borrow up to 4 times their income in January. That's the kind of big change coming in. And the fact that subsequent time buyers now will be able to avail of a 10% deposit. So I think people are worried that will fuel demand a little bit more when we're still in a period of massively restricted supply. So I think that's people's worry that it will keep pushing prices up. I don't know where it's going to go, to be honest. I think the ESRI are predicting prices will drop, but then I just don't know how prices are going to drop if there are no homes available for people to buy. And this is something I bang on about all the time, but especially with new builds, the average is in around 6,200 new builds a year available for you or I to buy since 2017. So that's it. We need 56,000 new builds, not six. There are 20 odd thousand being built, but you're looking at councils, you're looking at approved housing bodies, and you're looking at investment funds. And so very few are actually available for normal people to buy. So it means everybody is kind of battling over the limited existing stock that's there. And even at that, you're competing against local authorities, councils, investors for those. So I don't know. I can't see prices coming down because of that, because there's no supply. But I'm also just some chap with a phone on Instagram, so I haven't a clue. But I do plan on chatting to some economists.
And I'm just an agent, and as I always say, we don't drive the prices. However, everyone likes to demonize that we're pushing up prices. We're really just responding to the market, and as you say there, it is a factor of how much is available to buy, and how much demand there is. Now on the demand side, as you say, the lending limits have been changed, so you can borrow up to 4 times your income. Again, that depends on the bank approving you for that and it being affordable for you. So that's increased a little bit. And second-time buyers only need a 10% deposit, and that will help. I think a bit of more freeing up the market. But at the same time, interest rates have gone up 3 or 4% since middle of last year. I think that's probably a reasonable trade-off. And I don't see that one will ramp up the market, while the other one's going to soften it at the same time. So we kind of think and hope we'll just go along in this kind of steady limbo with no crashes. The big factor for demand is if there start to be layoffs in the tech sector. That will radiate out of the centre of Dublin quite quickly. Where I am in Blackrock, and we cover up to Irish Town and Ringsend, those sort of areas. There's buyers from Facebook and Google and all those sort of people who buy all the way out of town, and that has ripples all the way out to the suburbs as well. So we'll see. Look, I think if there's more stock coming on, there's a few more new builds to buy, and we're seeing a lot more second-hand homes coming on. That might be useful for people. Everyone gets a choice. Whether prices go up or down, we don't know.
Yeah, I'd agree on that. Like, I think just because you're able to get 4 times your income, and it's only for first-time buyers without an exception, doesn't mean then they'll necessarily qualify for that, because it will depend on repayment capacity and all the rest. So yeah, look, it'll be an interesting year. It always is.
Let's start there then, while we're talking about mortgages, because I wanted your tips. Again, you've contributed to us, but you've got a huge range of tips and advice on your Instagram at Crazy House Prices. But mortgages then, you have a few good things there about how to get an exemption, how to present your perfect mortgage application. What's your recommendation to people who are just maybe starting out in the new year, about to go for mortgage approval? Where would they start?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would get my credit report done, because this is something, like I'm always telling people, when you're going to look at a house or when you're bidding on a house, you need to make yourself the best candidate possible. And that means you need to be able to move quickly if you do go sale agreed. But there's a lot of things that can hold that process up if you do eventually go sale agreed. So I would say go to the central credit register.ie, I think it is, and get your credit report. Because there are some skeletons in people's closets that they've forgotten about, say from college days or whatever, where they missed a few payments on a credit card. And that stuff stays there for a long time, and it will come up when the underwriters are looking at your mortgage application. So you just need to, I'm not saying that will stop you getting a mortgage, but you need to be able to explain it to them. So for example, I had 2 issues on my credit report that I didn't know about. And I only found out about them because I applied for it. And the first one was a credit card that I had in college. I'm talking 15 years ago. And basically what happened was the credit card, I didn't want a credit card. They just gave you them then. This is like...
You sign up to these things, and you become a student.
So it was like 2006, 2007 or something. And they're throwing credit cards at students with a €500 limit or a €1,000 limit or whatever it was. I didn't want a credit card, so I didn't use it. I got rid of it. So the credit card, I never used it. The credit card expired, and they never sent me out a new one. So I just figured that was it. The account was closed. but they never closed the account, and they kept trying to take fees out of the account. And so there was fees trying to be taken out of an account that didn't exist in my eyes. And so I didn't do anything wrong. It was their issue, their fault. But that stayed there forever. It was like €25 or something. That's all it was. But that stuff shows up. And then, so I had to get onto AIB, and they had to sort it. And it's supposed to be taken off my credit report now, but it's still there. It hasn't been removed yet. So that's a pain in the arse, because when we switched our mortgage, it came up again. I was like, this is a joke. And then the other issue was, when I went back to do my postgrad, I had to take out a loan. I took out a 12 grand loan to pay for my postgrad, and from the credit union. And so I had it all paid back. So I took a break from paying it when I was doing teaching practice, because you don't get paid. So I wasn't earning. So I had to take a little break from it, and that was fine. And luckily I had it all in writing with the credit union. And I was like, look, just don't take payments for a while, and then I'll restart or whenever. So that was grand. And then I paid off the loan. But what happened then was, in the period between paying off the loan and applying for my mortgage, my credit union that I was using closed down, and all the accounts are switched to another credit union. And that meant then all kind of correspondence is gone. So basically it came up that I missed, say, 9 payments. It was 9 months where I just took a break from paying, in agreement with the credit union. I just paid interest. But it looked like I missed 9 payments. And I was like, no, that's not the case. I never missed a payment, blah, blah, blah. So I just had to explain this to the mortgage underwriters, but like it took probably 2-3 weeks. So that can delay things by 2-3 weeks, which on top of a lot of other delays that can happen when you're buying a home. So it's just something that's within your control that you can do early on in the mortgage process. And then another thing I would do is get your account immaculate. So no gambling. I know people say, you can do little bits here and there, but like if the bank will look at it as if you're willing to gamble with your own money, you're going to gamble with theirs. So don't have any gambling. Don't have any accounts linked to your card. If you want to put money on the Grand National or whatever, just take out cash and go into a bricks and mortar shop and do it that way. But just have your accounts really clean, have them really organized, have a savings account, have your current account, have a deposit account then for, say, saving for your deposit that takes like 7 days or whatever to take money out. Banks do those accounts where you can't, so that way you can't just, if you're struggling, you've €600 bill, you're not dipping into your savings then to get it. So I would say have all those kind of savings account, a deposit account, and your current account, and have them really clean, really tidy. And I would say figure out what your mortgage repayments would be, which you can do on the ccpc.ie website, and that gives you a mortgage calculator. And let's say your mortgage repayments are going to be €1,000 over 35 years, say whatever, 3% fixed, whatever. And if it just to keep it at €1,000 because it makes the maths really easy, I would save at least 1.3 times that. And what that will do is that will help you beat the bank stress test when it comes to applying for your mortgage. They'll say, okay, well, look, their mortgage is going to be €1,000, but they've shown they're able to save €1,300. So your repayment capacity is improved. I'd even maybe, if you could do 1.4, I'd go up as far as that, because interest rates are going up really high. It used to be 1.2, 1.3. I just err on the side of caution and try and save 1.4. But that can also include your rent. So if you're paying €800 rent and you want to save €1,300, then you need to pay your €800 rent, and then you're saving €500 on top if you can. I know that's easier said than done, but that's kind of what banks are looking for when it comes to your mortgage applications. You can show, look, they'll say, look, this fella's organized. His accounts are clean. He's got a clean credit history. And he's shown he can save. So it just makes life a lot easier for the lender then to say, yeah, look, we'll give them full approval or underwritten approval, because you really want your underwritten approval when you're starting to look at houses to buy or homes to buy.
Yeah, it's really essential. Most estate agents won't even consider you to view a house or especially bid on a house unless you can prove you have that mortgage approval already. And the stress test is something that you and I and mortgage brokers that we speak to have been saying for years, that you should be saving this sort of 1.3 times. And for ages, it was very frustrating for buyers because mortgage rates hadn't moved for so long. But look how suddenly in the last 6 months, interest rates have gone up, a number of times. And it's quite quickly you can realize your original mortgage might have been very quickly unaffordable if you hadn't have done that stress test. So it's worth doing. Do save more than just what your mortgage payment would be. Do it another 30% or 40% or so. And you actually have you have a really good tip on your Instagram page as well about this long-term saving. As you mentioned, you have an account that you can't touch unless you have sort of a 7-day waiting period. But perhaps you have another savings account if you have weddings or holidays, or if the car breaks down, have that in a separate account. And I think the reason for that is you never dip into that long-term savings account. The banks don't want to see that you're dipping in and out, even if you're repaying it. They don't want to see you dipping into that occasionally because that is dedicated for the mortgage. So you have another savings account for those life's little extras.
Yes, you can make a calculation based on what your bills are, multiplied by 12, whatever, that's what you're paying for the year, add them all up, and then divide it by how often you're going to save, whether it's every week, every 2 weeks, whatever. Set up a standing order to transfer that amount regularly into the account. And then you have your kind of day-to-day spending, your weddings, as you said, all that kind of stuff. So it's all on my page. Actually, people just want to go and have a look. It's just making sure that you have everything really organized. If banks love nothing more than somebody who's really organized with their money. They just love it. That means their loan is less at risk. You're not going to default on your repayments, and it just makes life a lot easier for them. And you're more likely then to get the highest amounts approved as possible.
So house hunting then, once people have their mortgage application ready to go and they're out there, what's your recommendation for people finding houses and, doing the research?
Yeah, there's a lot you can do even before going to a viewing to make sure that home is kind of suitable for you. There's, you can check out, like Google Maps, there's loads you can do on Google Maps to see, do the satellite view, see what the garden's like if it's not on the listing.
That's my best tool. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And Land Direct is really good. You can see what kind of plannings have been approved nearby, or if there is an extension on it, you can make sure it had planning if it's within kind of the last 10 years or so, or since 2010. You can even check, like on Comreg, you can check what the mobile signal will be like. You can check what internet providers are there. Like there's a load of things you can do to check if a home is suitable for you before you even bother trying to book a viewing, because sometimes you'll have kind of, deal breakers on your list of requirements that maybe this house won't meet them. So you can save yourself a bit of time on that. The usual kind of places would be your Daft, your My Home. I know some agents like to kind of just keep some things, as they say, off market. But I always say if it's with an estate agent, it's not off market. But I would also recommend, building a good rapport with the agents in your area. If you're in Dublin, there's going to be loads. But if you're down the country and if maybe one estate agent that gets a lot of the listings, you don't want to be having arguments with them over bids or like getting into a bad kind of form with them, or I'm not saying you need to suck up to them, but just kind of build a genuine nice rapport as you would with any other person, any other professional, and just like, look, I lost out in this house, but I'm looking around this area, this is what I'm looking for. If you keep me in mind, we're really good buyers, we're ready to go, we have we have our solicitor organized, we have a surveyor ready to go, I have my deposit. I'd always say save kind of 12, 13% rather than 10% deposit, because you'll need money to cover legals and a survey and all the rest. So build a good rapport with the agent, and then they'll keep you in mind. And I'm hearing a lot lately, actually, people are messaging me saying, this time last year, you couldn't even get a text back, as the kids would say, from an agent. Whereas now agents are ringing them, cold calling them out of the blue, being like, look, have a house.
I know, it's horrific. I actually have to do some hard work for once.
Yeah. So I think things are changing a little bit. So people need to, have a good reputation have a good rapport with them.
It is so true. Yeah. Look, we want to have buyers on our books that we know are good. If you've just sold a house and a really good buyer came second or just missed out because they didn't have everything in place, we keep in touch with them and I keep them ready to go. If I have the next house down the road come on, or even as I know you're seeing a lot more, your followers are seeing a lot more houses, the first buyer falls through and you come back to the second buyer. Yeah. That's happening more and more these days. So look, present your best case to the estate agent, show that you're ready to go and you're all sort of sorted, and they will come back to you. And sometimes you will get that property off market, because it benefits us as the agents to be able to walk a really good buyer straight into a house that we know they'll like. And also the vendors quite like it. It means they don't have to have viewings and endless weeks of this. If I can say, look, I have the best buyer for you. I'll walk them in next weekend. We can do a deal. They like that. The buyers like that. It gives you a bit of exclusivity. So yeah, present yourself well, get on really well with the agent, and it does pay off for you.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I know you're posting a lot more about, and we're seeing a lot more of, is price drops. Some of the portals, I think My Home with Daft, such very good price drop pages where you can search by area and see where the prices are coming down. So you might spot a house that was maybe out of your budget, or you thought it was a bit overpriced, and now the price has dropped by maybe 10, maybe 50, maybe 100 grand. Tell me how you use those.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it actually since kind of towards the end of the summer right up until now. I think this time of year is always quiet anyway for agents and houses and stuff. But yeah, look, it's a welcome sign seeing houses come down. So you can use the My Home app, but Daft don't have it yet. I'm actually talking to Daft at the moment. I'm like, lads, you need to get this on the app because it's a really handy tool to have. And it shows you when the agent has either increased the price or decreased the price. Now, some agents get around this by removing the ad and re-uploading it. Maybe some people don't want to see the price drop or the price increase or whatever. And then some agents, I think, you may correct me on this, but I think every now and again, you'll see prices go up on a house. Maybe the agent put it up and, it was quite a low asking price. And there'd been a massive frenzy of bids on it. And now it's all of a sudden it's 100 grand over the asking price. And the agent's still getting calls saying, I'm looking at this house for 200 grand. And instead of the agent have to answer calls and say, actually, it's at 300 grand now, they may increase the asking price to 300 grand on the ad just to kind of filter out anybody wasting anyone else's time, because that's where bids are at now.
Yeah, it's fair for you're not wasting the buyer's time
exactly,
and just getting rejected straight away.
So yeah, have a look at the price drops, and then sometimes if there might be no interest, and then they'll drop the price, and then all of a sudden there'll be a frenzy of interest in it. But it can also be because a sale fell through and they just want to get rid of this house off their books, especially if it's a cheaper house, because agents you might spend a year trying to sell a house for 150 grand. You're not making any money on it. It's like, just get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
So I would,
no. Sometimes it is used. Sometimes it's a useful tactic for us to have something that has missed the market a bit, especially in the last year, where maybe valuations were done in the early part of the year, and by the time the house actually comes to the market has shifted, because we all thought it was going up and up and up in the first couple of months. So sometimes you just get the price wrong, or the vendor has expectations that are too high. A good price drop actually can be a useful tactic for us. It brings people in, it drops the property into someone else's price bracket and brings them in the door to a house they may not have otherwise looked at. So yeah, it is useful, and it can get a house sort of sale back on the road again. So it's useful, but very good, very useful for buyers out there to find something that might be suffering. There's always vendors who are in a bit more of a hurry than another. Maybe it's a probate and they just don't have a need to really push the price. They don't have to hit a certain number to buy something else. Yeah. Maybe it's just they need it gone before the end of the month, end of the year. And so, you can find vendors out there who are under pressure to sell, and you might be able to get a bargain.
Yeah. And as you said, sometimes they come back to you and the sale has fallen through, and they might come back to you if you were an underbidder. Like that happened to us twice. I got 2 phone calls after. So we bought our house, and I think anybody listening, if they follow me, know I bang on about this all the time, but we went off market for our house. We just dropped letters indoors and we got lucky, etc., etc. So we had gone sale agreed on our house, and I got phone calls from 2 agents about 2 different houses that we were bidding on, saying the sale has fallen through. They're willing to accept your earlier offer if you want to go. And I was very happy to tell them, no, we're grand. We found something better for cheaper. But it's don't lose hope completely if you have been outbid, because sometimes it does come back to you.
Yeah, look, I think that's really important. But while you mention it there, I would be interested to hear again your house buying story, because it's something you recommend to a lot of your followers. It's not something I recommend so much as an estate agent. But how do you get around the estate agents and find a house off market?
Yeah, so we just wrote a letter. Basically, we had a very kind of specific area that we really wanted to buy in, and we had nothing to lose. We had been outbid on actually the house next door. We had been outbid, and we really loved this area. And so I was like, look, well, we'll just write a letter, drop it indoors. So Melissa wrote, she's good at writing. She's a lot better than me. She should be the one writing my book. Actually, it'd be a lot better if she wrote it than if I wrote it. So she wrote a nice letter. We dropped it indoors. We only got one response, and it was from the house we're in now. So we were kind of sale agreed within a few days. We came around to look at the house. We knew we'd love it because we'd been bidding on the house next door. and it's basically the exact same, except our one actually had an extension, so it was even better. So it's kind of, that's how we got around it. It's not something that's going to work for everyone. It requires getting extremely lucky, but I mean, you have to make your own luck sometimes, and you got to try these things. So I have, since I posted about it, I've gotten quite a good few people getting in touch saying that it worked for them. Another thing some people do is, if they're renting, they just say to the landlord, look, any interest in selling to us? It saves you a lot of hassle trying to get us out, evict us or whatever. And then so that's happening a lot. Landlords are leaving the market, and
that's fantastic advice. Actually, there's a huge swathe of landlords selling up, and the difficult thing is the tenants have much longer resident rights now. They can stay for up to 6 months after giving notice. So it is frustrating for landlords. You can get them out of that problem by offering to buy the place, especially if you've been there for a while. It also keeps the landlord happy. It means that you'll continue paying rent up until the point that you buy it, essentially, and they don't have a void period with no rent coming in while they're trying to sell it. So that's a really good, if you like the place you're in and you're settled there, see if you can make an offer. It's really good advice.
Yeah, and then you can kind of sweeten it up to them by saying, look, you're saving 1.5% on estate agents' fees, plus all the advertising, getting photos, getting us out. Then you're going to be probably 6-7 months, whatever the average time is for the sale. I think it's around 6 months, isn't it? You'll be 6 months without getting rent. Yeah. And if that's $2,000 a month, that's 12, that's 12 grand plus the fees, probably another 4 or 5 grand. You can say, look, you're going to be saving probably about 20 G's here, and I'm going to save you a lot of hassle. So it's a way of kind of putting it. Yeah, and landlords are key.
That's exactly the point. And a lot of these landlords are probably accidental landlords who bought the place back in the last boom. They're still paying a big mortgage on it. Any void period, even a month or two, is heartbreaking to them. They've got to pay that out of their own pocket. So absolutely, it's something there. It's a low hanging fruit. If you like the place you're in and you can get a mortgage approval, go for it, because you might get it 20 grand cheaper than on the market if it's easier for the landlord. And the last thing to say on that as well is, despite being an estate agent, you can sell your property without one. Once you've agreed the price, which you can do between the two of you, all you need is a solicitor on your side and a solicitor on the other side, and they can do all the work from there. I shouldn't be saying that, but there are a few sort of greasing the wheels that the estate agent does, but once it's said agreed, it's essentially out of our hands, and it can be handled by just two solicitors. So there's no harm in doing a deal direct, whether it's with your tenant or with someone that you've dropped a letter into their house.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying we don't need estate agents. We do, especially if people tend to. It can be something really personal for people, and they might like dealing with buyers and stuff. But I'd imagine most people selling a house don't want to deal with any of that shit. They're just like, no, just let me know when it's sold, and they don't want to be faffing around with viewings and all the rest. And especially if it's a more valuable home as well, I think you definitely need an estate agent there. But yeah, as you said, you get a really good solicitor. That would be another tip. Would be, I mean, I hear a lot of horror stories about some solicitors, but I think most are great, but just make sure you're using somebody that comes recommended by somebody else that has actually used one. And if you're maybe in this country and maybe Ireland isn't your first country or where you're originally from, you've moved here and maybe you don't know that many people, well then, reach out to myself or reach out to Ben, and I'm sure we can give you a good recommendation for, my solicitor was amazing. So it's really important that you have a good one. One that's responsive quickly, and one that can kind of foresee any issues before they come about, because it can save you so much time and hassle. So definitely make sure you have a really good solicitor.
Yeah, that's great advice. Now, there's one last thing I want to ask you before you go is, once you bought your house, you finally got the keys to your place sort of late last year, and you spent 6 to 9 months doing it up. You did a clever trick that after you had done some energy improvements, you went back to the banks and got a new mortgage. How did that work?
Yeah, so and actually this is another thing that people often don't realize when they're shopping for homes is, let's say you're approved for 300 grand and you have 30 grand deposit. The max you can search for is 330 grand. But if you find a house for 270, that doesn't mean you've got 60 grand there to play around with to do it up. The bank will only give you maximum 90% of that. So it just means you'll have a little bit extra in your deposit, but it's not going to be 60 grand. let's say it's 270, the bank will give you 90% of that, which is, I don't know, what's 90% of 270, 27?
250 or something.
Yeah, around about 243 or whatever. 243. They'll give you that, and then you'll need your 27 grand deposit, which means then you've only got 3 grand to do it up, you know? So that's a mistake people often make. They're like, okay, well, if I buy something 100 grand cheaper, I'll have 100 grand extra to put into it. It doesn't work like that. Bank will only lend 90% maximum on the home. So that's another thing when you're looking at fixer-uppers. But then you're kind of looking at, I mean, you can give yourself a rough ballpark figure as to how much a home is going to cost to renovate. We were lucky, you know, with my page being the way it is, you know, I had a couple of companies that wanted to, you know, throw some little bits in for free or whatever. Probably saved a few grand here and there. I did a good bit of kind of stripping out myself. And then I had friends in the trade that did the build. And then we used the one-stop shop, the retrofit company for, so we got the house from I think it was a G rating, up to an A3 with the heat pump, we have solar panels, we've everything like that. So how we did it was we just went to credit union, and basically the credit union had the money in our account like the next day. And then kind of, it took a year actually to do the house. So as we were saving, that was more money just going into, you know, just paying off builders or whatever. And then what you can do is you can go back then, and because we got ours up to an A3, we were eligible then for a green mortgage, which usually gives you favorable rates. So we were on a 3-year fixed. We were 11 months into our 3-year fixed, and that was at 2.35. And we went to EBS then. I switched to them, and actually, I'm not really supposed to say this, but anyway, I switched to EBS variable rate for a month because that gave me cash back. So I got 2% cash back, and I paid 3.something% for a month. And then it's just you fill in one form to switch to the green rate. So we got 2% cash back. And then the next month I switched to the green rate, which was 2.1% for 4 years. And I didn't have a breakout fee on my original mortgage, because often when interest rates are increasing, banks kind of remove the breakout fee because, you know, they get more money if people are coming in at a higher interest rate.
They want you to switch.
So yeah, it worked out really well.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's a great little trick. Yeah, so you're not set in stone for 30 years with your mortgage. You can switch and change, and there's sometimes good deals out there on different fixes or things like that. Brilliant. Well, Ciaran, that's fantastic. Thank you for that. That's been really useful, I think, for my audience and ours. Where can people find you, and what have they got to look forward to from you this year?
Crazy House Prices on Instagram, Crazy House Price, no S, on Twitter, because they don't allow a longer handle. I'm sure people will see me there. I'll be once you type in crazy on Instagram, I think I'm the first.
You're mostly there.
The first thing that shows up. And then, 2023. I have my own podcast as well, the Crazy House Prices podcast. And yeah, I've got a few bits coming up on that. Economists, experts coming on to try and talk.
I'm trying to get you to mention the book, which you need to be self-promotion.
I wrote a book as well. Sorry.
There we go.
Yeah.
And when's that out?
The book is out the end of March. It's called How to Buy a Home in Ireland, and it's with Hachette, I think they're called. They're a huge publisher. I need to learn how to say their name properly. But yeah, a massive publishing company. So they've been great. Yeah, you know.
When you start getting the checks in, then you'll remember the name.
Yeah, you don't actually. That's one thing I learned from writing a book is you don't make any money writing a book. It's
you don't make any money.
No, it all goes.
Hey, it's good. It's good to get your name out there anyway. Yeah. Well, I think that's great. I think it'll be a must buy for anyone in our audience, anyone out there looking to buy a house. And at this time of year as well, a great gift for someone in your family, perhaps your son or daughter who's stuck in the spare bedroom and you want to get them out of the house. Want to get to buy a house this year. So a great thing to buy for them or for anyone else. So Ciaran, thanks very much for that. Look forward to all your good work and your campaigning and your advice for buyers out there.
Pleasure.
So thanks, man. Have a happy new year.
Same to you, Ben. All the best.
Thanks so much for Ciaran there at Crazy House Prices. You'll find him on Instagram and Twitter. You can also follow me at Irish Home Magazine. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the Irish Home Show. I'm going to be back next year with more interviews with various people from the house buying and the house selling industry this year. Finally, if you're getting out there house hunting in the next year, go and get the journal. It's so useful. It's an essential guide to bring with you, whether you're just starting out saving and want to track your deposits, or if you're getting on the mortgage application process, we've got great checklists in there. If you're house hunting, it's an essential guide with viewing logs for each house you see and tips of what to ask the agent and how to bid. And finally, really importantly, even once you've gotten sale agreed, there's a lot of extra stuff to get through. This takes you through every step of the way. In addition to this year, I'm going to have an interactive guide on our website where it will take you through how to use the journal and every step of your house buying journey. If you go to irishhome.ie/journey and sign up there, you're going to get each stage of our process with emails, links to our previous interviews, and advice for every part of the journey. Thank you so much for tuning in to Irish Home Show this year. I'm really delighted that I could help anyone out there trying to buy a home. I've been Ben Thompson, the Friendly Estate Agent. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me at Irish Home Magazine, or you can email me, ben@irishhome.ie. Find us there online, and I'd love it if you subscribed and came back next year to hear more from us. All the best. Happy New Year. Good luck with your house buying journey in 2023, or whenever it is you're listening, and I'll speak to you soon.